So, welcome to our TerraWorks webinar. I'm Elaine Chang. I'm the Senior Manager for Global Market Development for TerraWorks. I'm glad to see so many familiar organizations online and a lot of new ones. Today, TerraWorks is a software designed for organizations who have spread out field staff so that they get information in and out of Salesforce.com CRM system direct onto their Android mobile device. At the time, managers can see real-time reports on what's happening in the field from headquarters. There's an opportunity for one of our users to share the work that they've been doing and to show you directly how they're using TerraWorks and Salesforce in a really cool and innovative way. So our hope is that you come away inspired by what's possible and to give you ideas for your own organization. We're honored to have Miranda Clarke share her work with Oxfam America's Women in Small Enterprise program. And we're even more honored because I just found out that yesterday was her birthday, so thanks so much for working on this. Monitoring their own metrics as Oxfam America, they also have an added challenge of involving their in-field partners in their system, so everybody has a holistic picture of everyone else's activities. Hopefully that translates into a richer experience for their women entrepreneurs. So Miranda can explain this better. Before I turn it over to her, I will go over some housekeeping rules. I'm going to just open up a poll here to see how many of you need to share information across different stakeholders. So let me start that. So hopefully you see that on your screen and you can just enter where you are in terms of sharing data. So open, just want to go over some housekeeping rules. So everyone will be on mute automatically. So you can type your question in at any time into the Q&A window. Raise your hand and I'll unmute you. I think what we'll try to do is save most of the questions till the end, but if you do have a clarifying question, send it through at any time. And it will be recorded. I think with that, I'm going to close this poll. %63% of our, looks like it's still being updated. Great. So, for a tool. You guys are using it use the tool already, so that's great. Okay, cool. Let me switch at this point. Amanda.
Thanks. Can you hear me? Or Elaine, can you at least let me know that you can hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Let me see. I don't see your screen yet, though.
Okay. Oh, desktop. I need to do that, don't I?
Something's happening. Great.
Okay, great.
Hey, Miranda.
Thanks so much. I'll just get this going. Here we go. Well, as Elaine said, my name is Miranda Clarke. I work with Oxfam America as a male advisor, working on monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. I'm specifically helping the WIS program, which is, as she said, is Women in Small Enterprise. It's an initiative that we have piloted in Guatemala. It's now in its second to third year. And just to give you a very quick overview of what we're trying to do, we set a guarantee fund which would enable loans to be made to women who aren't normally given loans because they don't have enough collateral. So it helps to encourage banks to change their policies towards women and training women to help them develop their business skills and also improve their own awareness of rights and their sense of empowerment so they're better able to negotiate not only in their home but also with their business, but also with banks to get the loans. Ultimately, we're looking at raising awareness about how women can play an active role in that, and to influence policy amongst the financial sector. To give you an idea of how we work, you'll notice that we have a lot of our work focused around the Clinton family, and that's not it's not just coincidence. We've used Hillary Clinton as a sample, and Wilma also has been helpful to us recently. And so if Wilma were to be interested in WISE, she would approach us and ask to be included in the program. And if she qualifies and has a large enough business that's been running for a significant amount of time, she would enter the pre-investment program. She would work with coaches who help her understand her business better and identify particular areas where she can grow. Then she might want to apply for a loan with one of our financial partners, and that loan to invest in her business. And she could ultimately get a second loan further down the line if that makes sense for her and her business. Oxfam works particularly with partners. With WISE in Guatemala, we work with a variety of organizations. But today I'm going to be focusing on the relationship with IDEA, this organization on the bottom right-hand corner, who are our training partner, and they're responsible for developing the training curriculum with the women and for training up the groups of women, the cohorts that we have within the program, and they continue to support those women with coaching, with peer-to-peer sessions following the training. So just to get a sense of who's involved and how we work together, program coordinator in Guatemala who oversees all aspects of WISE, so includes working with our financial partners, with training partners, helping to recruit the women, and then looking at all different, the whole breadth of the program. And it's supported by a male officer who helps to coordinate the collection analysis of different male purposes. Basically, around the training and coaching component of the program, we work with this local organization, IDEA. And there are two basic types of roles there. We have a coaching manager who coordinates and oversees all of the training, the coaching, and the peer-to-peer sessions. And the person oversees the work of the coaches, or in some cases, the junior coaches. And these are people who develop a strong working relationship with the women, and they really get to know the women and their business, and they work with them during the training, and the coach follows, and in the loan application process, so that they really help the women best use of the resources that they have available to them. Over the course of the program, we've had different opportunities to gather and data and analyze it. And even a couple of years old, there's been an evolution in the way that we've done this. Indeed, when we did first baseline surveys in 2014, they were done on paper. But the round of baseline surveys we did last year was done exclusively using the TaraWorks surveys. Selection interviews have also gone from a paper-based system now to, again, using the TaraWorks surveys with everything online, so we can see immediately how many women have been interviewed. And increased technical assistance is being monitored and managed using TaraWorks and Salesforce. So each session is logged by the coaches. We're even piloting a way of digitizing the business modeling, and we're looking into peer-to-peer sessions and training as well. Every month, the coaches also collect monthly financial data from the women so that we can see how the businesses are developing in the short term. And every year we do an annual monitoring exercise where we collect some key metrics so that we can monitor to see how the businesses are changing over time. Different times we've used the TaraWorks surveys. In other cases, most recently with the coaching sessions, we're actually using the partner community, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So this is what the data looks like in Salesforce. This is a screenshot of our basic kind of record, an entrepreneur record. You have Hillary Clinton, who is actually not at home at the moment, but we like information, basic information around her business, details, whether he has a loan with us, and we monitor this, basically what it looks like. Of how our data is structured within the database, I just want to give a little overview so that you can help to understand the bits the training partner are able to see. Our key unit is the entrepreneur, and most of the information is held in records under the entrepreneur. The area that we're most interested in this training area is with the SGB, the small and growing business. And with some information through at the beginning of the process, like the history of the business, we record that when we're going through the section process. And then you can see there underneath that, the areas, the boxes in yellow, are the areas that the coaches are heavily involved with in terms of data collection. So specifically, the annual monitoring, the SGB monitoring, which is the annual monitoring tool, and the monthly financial monitoring tool, the financial data, and coaching log, which is the bottom box on the right-hand side. Yellow indicates that that's what the coaches collect, mostly using the partner community or work surveys. On the left-hand side, we have another object, the financial partner. And so the financial partner that we work with, they fed us information about the loans that they have issued, and every month they send us a report on what repayments have been made. That loan object is visible, is tied into both the SGB and the financial partner. So coaches are also able to see the information that comes from the financial partner about the repayments. So they're not relying on what the women believe that they have repaid, but they're getting information from the bank as well. The community enables us to give access to our partners to some of this information that they have in Salesforce. And it's really a simplified version of Salesforce based on roles. The key thing for us, as I'm sure for many of you, is that our partners do not need a Salesforce license in order to be able to view this information. And when they view it, they get the ability to edit it. In some cases, they can delete certain records as well. And that's all done through the ownership of the core record and sharing those records with a group of people. And we're able to basically personalize reports and dashboards so that what an individual sees is useful to them, and not necessarily, they don't necessarily see everything that's going on, so it's not too overwhelming. Specifically, in this relationship between Oxfam and IDEA, currently our Salesforce licenses are all assigned to Oxfam staff. They have all the 10 free licenses, and they're able to see any record in the system that we have, and they can edit almost every field, and they're even able to delete records. However, when we give access to information to our partners, because there's a much larger group of people who could see and edit and view that information, we put certain restrictions on it. So, for example, the coaching manager who oversees all the coaches, they are able to see all the objects, but cannot delete anything. That way we know that no core data is ever deleted. And specifically, they see all records that are owned by the coaches that they manage. So if it were a regional program and one manager was working in one region, they would only see the records belonging to coaches in that region, but they wouldn't in another region. And further down in the hierarchy, the coaches themselves, they're able to see all the objects. They have limited editing rights. For example, we've tried to restrict certain things just to make sure that accidentally things get edited out, and not able to delete anything. And they can only see the records of the women that they coach, so they don't get to see what their peers are doing and how they're working, and they don't get to see what's happening in other parts of the country, for example. What I'm going to do now is give a demonstration of our partner community. So you'll recognize this from before. This was the screenshot of what I can see as a Salesforce user. What I'm going to show you now is what a coach can see, and also what a coach manager can see. So I think I will start with the coach. So we have a junior coach, and this junior coach supports 3 women: Hillary Rodham, Chelsea Clinton, and Wilma Clinton. And these 3 women, coach has been working with for some time, and he or she is able to, logging on into the TaraWorks partner community, to look at information in the system that pertains to these 3 women. Here you can see exactly the same information that's displayed between the Salesforce and the partner community. It is identical, everything is there. And you'll notice that everything is in Spanish. The Salesforce side of things has been designed in English, but all the TaraWorks surveys and all the partner community is set up from the partner's point of view, which is Spanish. There are some where I haven't quite managed to get all the translations into the system. It's a long, slow process. We were missing the occasional thing. Here is in Spanish. So here is that a coach can modify, clone, or edit, but they're not able to delete this record. They don't have deleting rights. And this being the basic unit of all the data that we're collecting, if they go to edit it, they do not have the ability to edit any of these fields. So it would appear they have the right to edit the object, but in fact we've locked down all the fields because we don't want any of this information edited. What they can do, though, is they can provide us with an update. So down here we have an object that allows them to add in any changes in status. If the woman has a new telephone number or something's changed at home, they can add it here, and then we can add that. So I think the best thing now is to show you the kind of information from the data that they collect on a monthly basis, how they're able to sort of visually see that and look back over the past. And I think this is most obvious in the dashboards and how those present themselves. So we have a dashboard for them here, which shows them what the women that they're working with, what they kind of look like. So each cohort. Here, for example, all the 3 women have completed the training course. Look at their different education level. 2 have been educated to 5th grade, 1 at the 3rd grade level. Here's the age of the women. They all live in their own home. 2 are single, 1 is married, 2 are consider themselves to be Indigenous, and 1 doesn't. But snapshots of their women and the women that the coaches themselves are working with. I'm going to flip over here and show you managing. If I were coaches, this is what that profile would look like to me. Here we have in total 24 plus 8, so 32 women that are the same cohort. And here I get a much bigger picture of what that cohort looks like. And I think in this case, this dashboard actually works better looking at a larger number of women. But as a manager of this group of coaches, I can get a snapshot of what the entire cohort looks like. You know, I can see what their different educations are, that, you know, most women appear to be in their early 40s, in their own home, and most of them are married, and they consider themselves to be Indigenous. So that's useful from a higher level. I get to see that. Back over to the junior coach, and at the time, the junior coach can check to see what the status of the loans are. I'm going to update this because I made a couple of changes a few days ago and they haven't come through. But at any time, the coach can check to see what the status of the loans are amongst the women that he or she is working with. And in this is just data, but we can see that one loan is in arrears, others fully repaid, and the others defaulted. But you can see how much, how large the loans are. To look from the status, looking at it from the point of view of the manager, to see the entire cohort, I get a different picture, which again tells me a little more, but I get to see that one of these loans is in arrears. I might want to follow up on that and find out which woman that is and which coach is involved in the relationship. Lastly, I think this is interesting that it works better from the point of view of the junior coach. If you look at the financial data that's being collected every single month, I can see how each of the three businesses are performing in terms of how I'm working with them. And I think that's a useful way for them to see how each of the businesses are doing. From a coaching manager point of view, it's less informative. I think there's too much information there and it becomes a little bit overwhelming and not so useful. But that's what on that. So I'm going to back to the presentation now, but I'm happy to give further descriptions of any of this stuff later on afterwards. So thinking now about what the partner community has been enabled us to do in WISE, I think the thing is really being able to share this information in real time with our partners, as many we're both working from the same set of data at the same time, and we're not keeping separate records. For the first part of doing this program, it felt very much as if we were extracting all this data, but we were holding onto it, and our partners didn't have the ability to see it when we did, and were very reliant upon us in terms of making decisions. And I think, although this is supposed a male tool, it's actually become much more of a project management tool for us because we're really able to see what's going on at any particular time. And the key has been simplifying the administrative aspect of managing people. Our partner, they had 19 coaches, junior coaches working for them over the last 3 or 4 months. And all that data was there. Previously, they would have required them to write a paper report at the end of every single session and then to do a report at the end. It's very easy now for them to check to make sure that reports have been done and they're in the system, that coaching sessions were attended, if there were problems that they were taken care of, and those kinds of things. And what I think one of the things that we're most excited about, which we haven't started doing yet, but because this really is quite new, is that we're going to be able to share this information when we have our monthly meetings with our financial partner as well. And they're going to be able to see the same data. They will therefore understand which women have been trained, how many have completed trainings, and the meetings are going to become much more focused on looking at those sensitive cases where women appear to be challenged in terms of paying back their loans, or they're having difficulty, or there's an issue that's come up that the coach is intimately aware of, and maybe some kind of mitigating circumstance to explain why a loan repayment was late. And we're really hoping to be able to focus those meetings on the women that really most need our support. If interested in doing this kind of thing, then a couple of things that we've learned along the way. I think the first thing is about the data privacy and protection of women's identity. And we actually put quite a thought into how we protect a woman's identity with this system. We want it to allow other people to have access to the information. So we have to be careful that we don't share personal information, identifying information, or anything of that nature. And a couple of times we've had to go back and redesign stuff in order to make sure that we can keep things protected. It may sound a simple thing, but we've used different colors to highlight the different components of the system. So our Salesforce is all in blue and our partner community is in green, and it just helps to separate that, and so you know more inherently where it is that you're coming into the system. And as I mentioned earlier, languages can be very complicated, but I think we have managed to work around this by seeing Salesforce, the back end, as everything is done in English there, but all the TaraWork stuff and the partner community, that's all designed from a Spanish perspective. Steps, as I mentioned, we are looking into developing a donor or investor profile, which would be high level and allow people to look at data anonymized, so they would never know that it belonged to, Wilma Clinton, but it would just be a woman in a particular area, but that way you can use, true data as well and see how the program is progressing. Ultimately, I'd love to delegate the record ownership down to the entrepreneurs themselves. At the moment, many of the women don't have connectivity or sufficient connectivity to make it worthwhile, but we really want to give that ownership back so that they could see how their business is performing over time, how it's growing, and then stuff, and possibly even be able to input in their own at some point. Following a recent training with some of the coaches in Guatemala, we've got feedback to activate the chatter work so that they can share success stories with each other, and also ask for support if they're facing certain challenges with some of their women. And we've established a library for posting training materials. It's still there, but we haven't actually started using it yet. But those last 2 points actually came from the coaches themselves once we had done some training with them. I think that's it. There's Elaine's contact details in mine, just in case you need anything. But I think, do I send it back to you now, Elaine?
Yes, this is great, Miranda. Thanks so much. I certainly have a couple follow-up questions, but just a reminder that if you do have questions, please feel free to type them in. We do have one from Andrea, so let me get started with that one. Can you, Miranda, go over again how you collect your data, all the different channels? She asked, was it through Salesforce or some other tool? Or different ways that you've got to the system.
Yeah. So to some of it here. So, for example, the baseline surveys, initially that was a paper survey, which we then turned into a TowerWorks survey for the second round of baseline surveys last year. But in order to get the first round of baseline survey data into the system, we actually uploaded it via Salesforce using Excel spreadsheets and data loader. And to be honest, I'm still working through some of the stuff, which is a little bit tricky because it's not that straightforward. The selection interviews, again, we start off very often with basic data about a woman in an Excel spreadsheet, which we upload to create a new record, and then TowerWorks surveys, which allow us to pull in when we're having face-to-face interviews with women, for example, how long's your business been going, what kind of work, what's the focus. And when we get technical assistance, all that is done through either TowerWorks surveys or through the partner community. So the second cohort of women who are based in Quetzaltenango, we had 3 coaches who were working with 30 women, and they basically had a tablet and were doing we have a coaching log which the coaches complete and the TowerWorks say. How this group of larger, the 19 junior coaches with our third cohort working with about 60 women, these junior coaches would interview, would work with the entrepreneurs, write things down on a piece of paper, and then later they would come back home and input the data through the partner community. So we've had both mechanisms there. And say with the monthly monitoring, most of that has been through the partner community, but the annual monitoring has been through TowerWorks surveys.
Great.
Does that cover that?
I think so. Andrea, let us know if you have any follow-up questions to that. We also have a question from Erica at Soil 80. So she has 2 questions. So maybe the first one is, Miranda, talk about designing for privacy in mind. Could you give a specific example of change you made?
Yeah. So first designed back. So in this slide, you'll see we have our key is the entrepreneur, and we have 3 child records, objects, the household and the empowerment. With the GB record, we made the business name the identifying field that linked that relationship with the entrepreneur. And at that time, that felt like a really sensible thing to do. However, when we to look at giving access to this, giving a lot of outside Oxfam access to this information, we realized that if a woman had a business called Gloria's Shoes and had just got a $25,000 loan from our financial partner, somebody could Google that information and basically find out who she was and approach her for try and get money from her. And this is a risk in Guatemala, so we do have to take it quite seriously. So we leave the business name as the identifying field. So what we had to do was change that name to a number. So it's now SGB00001, and the name is just a text field in Salesforce that we're able to hide from an external viewer. So in a way, there's less identifying information. So, and there are the key fields that we would never kind of share with people who aren't working directly with women. Things like date of birth, their national identification number, their address, the name of the business. That, in fact, even their own name, we wouldn't share their name. So they would just see that it is Wise Woman 312, basically. So it's something that Oxfam has been working on with data privacy and access. Every woman signs a permission form to indicate that she understands that we're collecting this information and that we're going to hold it and use it, but we're not going to share it with people outside of the WISE program. So we honor that as well.
Great. And her second question, actually, it's great that you're on this slide. Maybe you can just keep there. But her question is, set up loan repayment information into Salesforce. I think both Erica at Soil, but others also have monthly payments that need to be tracked. So can you just give an overview of how you're doing it now?
Oh, I can do it in theory, but not in practice, okay? So the theory is that we have to get an Excel spreadsheet from our financial partner every month that says that loan number XYZ, we received a payment of this amount on such and such a date. And so basically, that will be an Excel spreadsheet which we will upload into Salesforce using Data Loader or something similar. But that's what we plan to do.
I'll just jump in here. We also have another organization called Ilo Mexico. They get a CSV file from their bank in 2 days, and they have it templatized so that it takes a couple minutes to upload into Salesforce so they can see all the repayment information immediately. Let's see. Other questions. Susan Young asks, are you able to show comparisons, so the types of businesses and the profits, financial cycles, repayments, experience levels of coaches, and success. So are you able to more nuanced and strategic-oriented findings?
I think in theory we would be able to. We haven't got that far so far, but I think what we're able to do is we have experimented with something. If you see the BM canvas here, this is the business model canvas, which is the basis for the whole coaching engagement that the coaches have with the women, and we have been experimenting a little bit with assigning scores for each of the 9 factors within that BM canvas. And what we're hoping to do in the future is to be able to see how, with understanding of her business, give her the big canvas score at the beginning and the end of the training and the coaching is linked to how well they're able to repay the loan, and we could even tie it to different coaches as well, because you could just compare Coach A with Coach B and see what the average is. We haven't got to that level of sophisticated analysis yet because we're still really just working on the more day-to-day stuff. But I think there's the potential to do that, then it is something that we would like to do. And again, looking at things like literacy levels and whether an Indigenous woman has a harder time negotiating loans than a non-Indigenous woman. Levels of education are also incredibly important, and supporting the home as well. Many women have absent partners who maybe or have gone completely. So I think there's a lot of potential there, and we're looking forward to doing that in the future.
That's great. I'll also add, Susan, as long as those category fields are in Salesforce, so you're collecting categories of the types of business, edge levels, etc., you can slice and dice information based on those. So that's all pretty flexible to do within Salesforce. Okay, so let's see, a couple questions as well. So it sounds like the coaches have been proactively asking you for more information. So the documents and also chatter. So it sounds like they're pretty bought into the system. Can you share any kind of tips around how you're able to get that kind of buy-in from coaches?
Part of it is to do with age. You know, if our coaches were 12 years old, they'd be able to do this in 5 seconds and they'll be telling us how to do it. The junior coaches that we have are actually students from a university in Guatemala. They're business students, and so they're very into this kind of stuff. And they, you know, when I was doing training with them, half of them are on their phones the whole time, kind of texting each other and sharing information. So it's really second nature to them, and I think that's, whereas, you know, I'm not that young anymore, and even the concept of using chatter, I still don't quite get it. So it didn't seem obvious to me. But age, I think, has a huge amount to do, and just their ability to experiment with some things. In fact, I have to say they have minimal training in using this system, and they've done really well with it. And I am constantly surprised at how well all the users do, both with the TowerWorks surveys and the partner community. There seems to be something quite intuitive about it. I had never done any of this stuff 18 months ago, and now I'm designing sales objects and doing TowerWorks surveys. We still get the occasional hitch where we don't quite understand what's going on, but the thing, I think, is friendly, and it seems to work really well for most of the time. So,
I guess a question around having external partners entering data. Have you experienced a lot of mistakes since there are so many different types of partners using the system, and how have you combated that?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, I suppose, is if the people who are entering the data are actually using the data themselves, I think they really value what they're putting in. With the coaching logs, for example, they use those to remind themselves what it was that they were talking about last time, so that their conversation, they can check to see what progress has been made, action plans are set at the end of, during each meeting, so they know what's happening. Therefore, because that is their one only record, or in theory would be their one only record of what they're actually doing. So they in general, very useful information. We had a few instances where some things haven't made much sense, but generally, I think it's more come from his in the technology side of things rather than the input themselves. I'm trying to think. On whole, it's been really good, I have to say. A couple of things have happened, but it's been about just needing to understand exactly how things work. And luckily, our team of people is small enough that we're able, we can look through the data quite regularly and see where something doesn't seem quite right, and then approach the individual and ask if there was a problem and understand what's happened.
Mm-hmm. And then, and again, if you have any other questions, please feel free to log them in. Have you been able to make any changes to your business model since this time? I know you've started using this in 2014. Have there been any kind of insights about the business model that have changed due to this implementation?
Yes, because this is a kind of pilot initiative that's not been tried before. We are constantly evolving. And our first cohort, for example, we were really challenged by the level of education, the literacy level. And so we were able to see that quite early on, that this is a challenge for us, particularly the financial literacy is a huge issue. And then we were able to, in cohort, we also count credit checks prior to selection to ensure that the women that were accepted in the program could take a loan with the financial partner that we were working with at that time. And for the cohort, we were working with a different financial partner who had a more relaxed approach, but we were able to say, real data in a slightly different way that enables us to say, well, actually, this woman doesn't have a good credit history, but the problem that she has is minor enough that it can be resolved, or that the partner would be happy to work with her. So we're constantly kind of becoming a little bit more nuanced about how we collect data and what we do with it. Does that answer your question a little bit, Elaine?
Yeah, great. Okay, I think that's it for the questions. So I think if you have other follow-up questions, our emails were available on that last slide there. So, great. Great, so feel free to reach out to myself or Miranda if you have any follow-up questions. And again, Miranda, thank you so much. This was really exciting to see how far you guys have grown, and I'm also excited to see more.
Great, thank you much.
Thanks, everybody.